Yeah. Well, hopefully you know a few things about magic items.
Yeah.
Awesome. Hey guys, I am WizThrift, and I'm here with Feralborn Trading today, and we are here for an episode of Legend Lore. This is a little sub series that I do, or I've been trying to do, where I take another creator who I feel has a lot of knowledge about something, and we just kind of deep dive into a certain topic. And today we're going to be doing magic items, or more specifically, homebrew magic items. And if you guys don't know, Feralborn Trading, or Michael, he does some fantastic art, and I don't care what he says, he's a great artist. And he does some fantastic art and makes some awesome magic items. And I'll post them up here on the video when I get to the editing. But yeah. Cool. So Michael, one of my first questions is, what do you think is the most important part when creating a magic item?
I'm a big fan of making thematic magic items that specifically fit a character's theme in order to make that player realize something that they're trying to achieve with that character, whether it be like a fighting style, a play method, a theme for their character. If they're dark and edgy, I want to make an item that matches that. Or if they're real flamboyant and colorful, then they get a crazy, wild magic looking item or something like that.
Yeah, that's really cool. I mean, that actually leads into another question. Do you feel like you make specific items for players, or specific items for specific players, or do you just kind of make just general items, and if they find them, they find them?
I have made items specific for players before. A lot of the items I make, I'm trying to give something to a player. Normally, unless somebody else swipes it.
Yeah.
Trying to make items for players that can either help them fit a niche or do something that their character couldn't normally do.
Okay.
But I also kind of throw on all my magic items, kind of similar to how most people use the magic rings that resize when you put them on your finger.
Yeah.
I allow my magic items, because they're magic, within reason, to change their aesthetics too.
Okay.
So if a character is, like flashy and flamboyant, picks up a dark, edgy sword, it molds itself to magically to fit their look. Just because as a player, sometimes I would turn down magic items because I'm like, that doesn't fit the way I want my guy to look, or something like that.
No, that's really cool. I love that idea, because you never know if maybe you use, like, this happened to me where I spent a bunch of time focusing on this item. I'm like, working on the mechanics and everything. Then I give it to, I just put it out there. I don't say who it's for or whatever. And then somebody else takes it. I'm like, dang it. Like, come on, guys. It was obviously for the paladin. It's a holy sword.
Yeah.
But yeah.
What are you gonna do with that ×2 divine smites?
Gosh, yeah. No, that is cool. I like that a lot, mainly because I think it is important to make items that are versatile. And one thing that I really want to do, maybe not today, but someday in the future, is make just a ton of common magic items that don't do a ton of stuff, but they add a little bit of flair, or a little bit, like in Xanthar's Guide to Everything. They have that whole list of just simple common magic items, and I want to make more of those, but I find myself always trying to make them like really awesome and really crazy magic items. So
yeah, I'm guilty of that as well, of tacking on 18 different features and making it scale with your level, and everything turns into an artifact. But I love the common items too, even when the common items aren't even necessarily magic, which is kind of off topic, but common items that give certain little boons to a character. Mm-hmm. Like I wanted to make wood elves wearing similar to sniper ghillie suits, which just gave them the ability, if they lay prone, advantage on stealth or something really small, but not magic. I love common magic items too, because it only makes sense that those would be scattered around everywhere.
Yeah.
In a magical world. So.
Yeah. No, it's true, and I think when we make our worlds or whatever, I think that we focus so much on the party that we kind of forget to build there would be a wizards dotted throughout the world that are just, they're not super powerful, but they're doing what they can. And so I think there would be probably wizards or bards or artificers just making small things to either make money or, just because they want to. Like, I like to just tinker with stuff, and I know a lot of people just, as a kid, I would take stuff apart, wouldn't put it back together, didn't know how, but I'd just take stuff apart. So
Well, it's sometimes too, those more common magical items are the ones that the players surprise you with anyway.
Yeah.
They're the ones that somebody figures out some like off the wall, like super creative way to use that item. And then all of a sudden you're like, oh, wow, all of a sudden that's like really more powerful than I thought. Or that's, just like a cool little way to have a life hack out of a magic item.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. No, there was this. So I'm in this I'm playing in this campaign where it's me and 2 other players, and they're probably my favorite group to play with as a player, just because we've gotten really close. We've been playing for over a year now, pretty consistently, and my character was just thinking for so long, like, I want to get these guys something. I want to get something for them that isn't too much, because like I don't want, because we have the community pot as our gold and whatnot. And so we finally got to this big market, and I found this place. And so I got our warlock, who is like the face of the party, a Cloak of Billowing. And then I got our sorcerer, who's a divine soul, and he's all about luck and divine favor and all that. And I got him it's like called the Clockwork Amulet, and it's like you can once a day you can force a roll to be a 10 no matter what. Oh, wow. And so and I just I love those little things that a 10, that's like completely average, might not change anything, but it could save like a death saving throw or something. And the Cloak of Billowing, if the dungeon master is down with it, it could add a lot to an encounter if they're trying to intimidate or make people think like, hey, I'm awesome. So. Oh
yeah, you walk into the room, the cloak billows, the music,
yeah,
record screeches, or
because we have prestidigitation and we have all this stuff to make him seem much cooler than he actually is. So
yeah. I mean, along those lines, it's kind of like one of the characters I played in a one shot.
Uh-huh.
The DM actually let me have one of my, like an uncommon magic item. So I picked my little figurine of wondrous power. That's a chair.
Yeah.
It's just like a little chair. I was using it everywhere. Just anytime I walk into some place, everybody else is standing around or camping, I threw down this huge arm wall and was just laying, lounging around in it. And it just it almost creates that simple item almost creates a whole personality for a character or for a player. So.
Oh yeah, no, I think that's really cool, because you can do so much with so little if you actually are thinking about it. Because that right there, it's like, oh, this character, just listening to it right now, I know nothing about that character, but it's like, oh, that character wants to be comfortable. They want to show people like, hey, I am a bit above you. This is my throne that I take with me. So, dang, that's awesome. So
poor guy sitting in the dirt.
Yeah. I mean, well, who wants to sit in the dirt? Get all your stuff dirty.
Exactly.
Yeah. So my next question is, how do you actually make your items when it comes down to it, whether it's for Instagram or for your D&D campaign? Where do you start?
I always start with the mechanical side of it, or an idea of what I want something to do. I mean, obviously, sometimes I'm inspired by some object that you've seen in TVs or movies, and then I'll use that as the base. Yeah. But for me, always starts with the mechanics of an item.
Okay.
I think we've kind of briefly touched on it before, but I feel like I'm stronger in that regard. So I don't normally draw an item and then come around and make the mechanics. It's almost that way first. And then I try to draw something good enough to convey those mechanics.
Yeah. But that's really cool. So how do you gauge the power of an item? Because it can be really easy if you forget a certain feature that a class has, or just a point in the game that you just didn't think of, to break the game, essentially. So how do you deal with power balance?
That's real difficult. I think that's part of the fun, though, is trying to think of it from the standpoint of a player and think, how would I break this item, or where is the loopholes in this, and then find the simplest text possible in order to close down those loopholes. I think the raw material, the official material that's usually put out, is really good about that. It's about being really simple with how they convey a way to shut down a lot of those shortcuts. Yeah. And then I always throw on mine the caveat, hey, if anything's broken, the DM, whoever that is, reserves the right to change this item and nerf it in any way possible, or maybe sometimes even to make it more powerful. I mean, I've done that myself with my own items in games, and then went back and did like errata and said, this one doesn't need attunement, or I definitely just say you can't do this because I saw somebody do something with it. But and then when it comes down to rarity and all that, I'm all over the map. I don't necessarily even like that on magic items, even though it's like standard, just because I'm like, the DM controls rarity and I trust them to know when to give that to their players. Because I mean, it's hard to say, oh, this is very rare but needs attunement. This is, it's like, it's really hard to gauge that, I think, a lot of times, except by comparing it to other, official items.
Well, okay, like right when you say rarity, 2 items come to mind. One is it's 3 items. Moontouch Sword, which is it doesn't have any bonuses, but it is considered magical, and it's just like a common weapon. So like even though it doesn't have bonuses, it surpasses that that magical resistance that monsters or creatures have. Winged boots. It's an uncommon, but it gives you a fly speed for a certain amount of time. But it's a lot of time, and so I mean, giving characters a fly speed with uncommon item, like that's actually a lot.
Huge.
Yeah, it's huge.
Yeah.
And then the third one is the Cloak of Displacement. I think it's a rare item, I'm pretty sure, but until the character is hit, every attack is at disadvantage. And I let my rogue in my current party have that, and man, it is really hard to hit him. Even though, like, I think his AC is like 16 or 17 or something like that. It's not super high, but because every attack's at disadvantage, like it's hard to hit him. And as a rogue, like, they're all about getting in and out. And so I think then
you do hit him, he's like uncanny dodge.
Yeah, exactly. And they were getting to that high enough level that he did get uncanny dodge. And it's like, so yeah, rarity I think is kind of like CR is a kind of outdated idea. But it does help for newer DMs who need that type of help, because it gives like it helps measure.
It does, and I think there's something there too. And I even probably use this myself unconsciously too when I'm making them. The rarities is knowing, okay, if something's a +1, is it rare? But if it has this other feature, now do you have to require attunement? Does that knock it down? As far as finding ways to balance that between any bonuses and modifiers with whether something requires attunement or not, or if something has limited charges, all that's kind of like that little delicate balancing game that really I think it's the only way I've ever been able to do it is just kind of compare it to other items that are out there. I kind of look at something like, well, okay, this sword's a +1, but it has this feature and that's kind of comparable. We can kind of throw that in that same rarity category and then hope for the best.
Yeah. No, I think because we're not game designers. I mean, we are game designers, but we're not professional game designers. We do this as a side hobby. We do it for fun. I think when it comes down to it, it is fun to see things break down sometimes. It is fun, like, when you see a character do something as a dungeon master, and as a player, I like to do those things. So I don't think anything's really off the table, but when it happens, take care of it pretty quickly. That way it doesn't get out of hand. So. Yeah,
and I think that's something important to kind of interject there too is as a DM, you kind of set those guidelines, and it's important to set those at the beginning, because if not, if you give a player something that makes them super powerful, a lot of times, I mean, good players and players that really know the game and enjoy the game will voluntarily nurse themselves or voluntarily come to the DM and be like, hey, I'm going to do this once because it's broken, but after that, I'm okay with fixing it.
Yeah.
But if you don't put that groundwork in, sometimes you can get players that are, now have animosity, or not animosity, they're just like get their feelings hurt, or they get kind of mad at you now nerfing their character because you gave it to them. And, you have to make that caveat at the beginning that, hey, this is homebrew. We might need to fix it. Have fun with it.
Yeah. No, and I try to do that, but sometimes I forget, and then it causes not too much problems, but a little bit of issues where it's like, oh, come on, man, this was so cool. It's like, yeah, but you kind of killed that dragon like 3 rounds, so
Yeah, I didn't realize it would stack with this, and this, and now you're doing 80 points of damage per attack. You're like,
without smite, without all this stuff. Yeah. So no, I definitely agree. I definitely agree with that, and I think you have a lot of good knowledge when it comes to these things. I mean, do you know how many items you've actually created? Well, I mean, I'm not
I know how roughly how many items I've shared
Okay.
on like
I guess
Instagram, but
that's
not
good.
necessarily creative. That's super nebulous. But yeah, I actually, when I very first started, was shooting for one item a week, and then I went to 2 items, and then I was like, okay, I want to get 100 in 2020. So I think right now I'm like right around like 50, maybe, if you count the spells and some of the other random stuff in there too, of ones I've shared.
Yeah, that's really cool. No, I mean that's a lot of items, and that's a lot of work too. So it's
some of them need revisiting, and
yeah.
some tweaking and some work, but that's fun too.
Yeah. So I've used a few of your items in like my campaigns, but
cool.
Has anybody else come to you like, hey, can I use this item, and if they have, what does that feel like for you personally?
Oh man, that's the whole purpose.
Yeah.
I've some of my items, have been used on, streams and things like that, and I became friends with the people who see them, and I get to watch them play with it. Other people say, oh, I used this item, it really saved my life. I was looking something specific for it. Those kind of comments and feedback is the whole reason I do it. I want to hear as many of those stories as I can, and I especially want to hear them if it's a critique.
Yeah.
Like, hey, I really love this item, but we used it, and this is what we found out. And I'm like, oh, thanks, because that might help, 20 other people maybe. Yeah. So,
yeah.
But yeah, I mean, that's the whole reason that I make the items, and I've actually made items for people who have contacted me and been like, hey, I'm really looking for this kind of item for this player of mine in my group. Do you take commissions or something? And I'll be like, no, I'm not. I usually don't. I'm kind of busy, but that inspired me. If I make that item, do you mind me sharing it? And we kind of both get something out of it. I got inspired by your idea, and you get credit and an item for your player. So
yeah, no, that is really fantastic, and I can testify. You definitely answer DMs, so that's awesome.
Try.
Yeah. Okay, so we're coming into the end now. So now I want to create an item with you. And the way I like to do this, like I said, this is only the second time I've done a Legend Lore episode.
Yeah.
But what I like to do is we close our eyes. Hopefully you have stuff in the area. We close our eyes and we just look around to something random, and then from that thing we will create an item.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's kind of not fair because I know where I could look where there's more interesting stuff.
Yeah. No hardware.
So I'm like, I just looked down at my desk and I'm like, oh, that would actually be kind of funny.
Yeah.
So
yeah, close your eyes.
I'll cheat.
No cheating. No cheating. I don't care if you do anyways. Okay.
I won't point at the item I was looking at before. I'll save that for later.
Okay. So I got mine.
And that's hard. I
don't know what to do, but we'll talk about it. So
okay, I might point at my other item.
That's okay.
I had something really funny for this thing down here, and then I just pointed to. I have one the Molly Mock statues,
cool.
Critical Role ones that McFarlane made, and I pointed at that. I'm like, oh, okay, well, yeah.
Okay,
well, yeah. There.
Let's go with the one that you could do really funny.
Okay.
So the thing I pointed at was a Barbie doll, and it's a Christmas present for one of my nieces. So that's why I have a Barbie doll. So we'll have some fun with that. But what did you pick, or what did you point at? Nice.
Candies, but it's like the little the Super Mario coin thing. So
that's awesome.
That's kind of an easy one.
Yeah, well, let's just start with yours then, since that'll be really quick and easy. So what's your pitch for this item?
If I was going to make this item, because it's clearly a Mario item, so you're going to do an homage to it, I would say, okay, what are the things that it normally does? These don't have the coins. Actually, these would have the mushrooms in it, right? I think so. So it has the
I think so. Yeah.
The enlarged mushroom, and then the fireball one, I believe, and then like a 1-up.
Yeah.
So I would definitely just be like, okay, I'm going to take those 3 features, make them a percentage chance, and then roll with that in some way.
Yeah, or you could like roll a d4. There's a lot of different things you can do. So it would be like a health potion, or like it immediately gives you, 10 temporary hit points or something like that.
Yeah. I mean, you could I guess you could get really crazy with it and say, like, when the thing comes out, it actually starts moving away from you at a certain speed, and you have to actually catch it, like the, like the mushroom would. And then you either enlarge, and then you can get the ability to do like flame strike for a certain amount of time. Key it back into normal mechanics, but it'd be funny.
That's cool. No, yeah, I mean, there's so much you could do. Like, you could make it a really powerful item and be like, so you can cast, depending on the percentage, you can cast enlarge, you can throw a fireball, you can, like maybe temporary hit points for if it's like the 1-up, or like up your AC for a certain amount of time. Yeah, that's really cool.
That'd be fun. Yeah.
Dang, that's really awesome.
It all have to be stuff though on the first hit. It goes away. Mm-hmm. Because you'd lose your you can't there's no concentration, you just lose that ability on one hit, so then it wouldn't actually be that terribly powerful.
That's true.
You could only do it like once a day or so, a couple times a day.
But that would be a fun, like if there was like a gnome artificer or gnome wizard and they gave it to him and every time they hit it, it did run away. Like that would be a really fun one.
Completely runs out of the encounter trying to chase it down. I think that's on the list now. I'll have to do that now. Just for
hey, there you go. That's the point. Okay, so mine is a Barbie. I don't know what Barbie it is, but it's just a Barbie. So, and I am drawing a blank right now because I did not expect to look at a Barbie. I actually forgot it was up there. So,
this when you said Barbie doll initially, I thought of something creepy, and then I went the other direction. I was thinking about the movie. There's an 80s movie called Mannequin.
Okay.
Are you familiar with that?
Yeah.
Where the mannequin, when he hugs it, it becomes a real person. Mm-hmm. I was thinking, well, the Barbie doll could become, and it could be a Ken doll or whatever too, becomes almost like simulacrum. Okay. Not an actual person, or maybe like a thrall, like more like a believable looking zombie.
Yeah.
Or something like that you could use. It's still a construct, but it becomes full size, becomes like a person and can do normal actions, interact with objects, and maybe get in the way of attacks or things like that.
Or it could be a mini simulacrum, and so it's like a mini version of you. So like all the damage, it kind of like a pixie, how they're so small, it does like 1 damage on its attacks. Like it can do everything you do, but it's very, very tiny.
Oh, that would be great too, because you'd be like, "Oh, it's mini me."
It's mini me.
That'd be really fun because then you could also give it like abilities like a familiar. That'd even be a funny familiar if you just had a miniature version of you that had imp stats.
Oh, that would be so cool. Yeah, and it, obviously it could fit into small places, and maybe it could climb stuff. Like, I think there's, and maybe it could like take on one of your magic item abilities, or like it can take on one of your class features or something, and you can choose that, or random or somehow. So I mean
that would actually be a really cool idea for an artificer subclass, like a toy maker or like a puppeteer, or like a Geppetto type guy that's making like Toy Story type figures that come to life. Would be really fun.
That would be okay. New subclass, the toy maker.
Well, that's always a fun thing to do with items too. Is sometimes items morph into item morphs into a spell, morphs into a class feature or something like that, or vice versa. That's fun.
That is really fun. No, that's awesome, and that's why I like doing like the random stuff, because because like I have a little figurine of Samus and Mega Man, and I have some books here. And those would be like probably easier to come up with.
Yeah.
I never would have thought, hey, let's take the Barbie and turn it into something really cool. So that's why I like doing the random part.
No, that actually is a good thought exercise for me too, because sometimes I'll get stumped. I go through like little lulls, and then all of a sudden I'll get inspired by like 3 or 4 different things, and I put them on a list. But sometimes I'm just sitting there thinking, I can't think of anything. What's the most common item I can make that would be really cool to, because I want to make something that, not just make something for the sake of making it, but make something that people are going to have fun using actually. So
hey, when in doubt, just make a sword. Everybody loves swords.
Make something that shoots flames.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, so before we go, I just wanted to ask, do you have any tips for anybody out there who wants to make any homebrew magic items?
I would say pay attention to what other people have done. A lot of times they'll give you little pointers on how they're constructing certain things, whether it be basing off charges or how they're balancing things. but for the most part, when I first started making magic items, it was just from listening to players.
Yeah.
Waiting to hear what a player says they would, oh man, I wish I could do this, or I wish I could have done that, or just seeing something, you're like, I kind of see what character concept they're going for here. They're basing it off this character, from a TV show or something like that. I'm going to give them something that kind of boosts that. Mm-hmm. So I just think that listen to your players, use something already created for your general framework, maybe to kind of, when you first start doing it, and theme it out yourself. And you can always cut and paste verbiage from SRD to stick in stuff and, to refer back to, but yeah, and just have fun with it. If it's broken, it can always be fixed.
Yep. Awesome. No, I think that's have fun with it. I think that's the perfect, for any creation at all, I think that's the main thing, but that's definitely some good advice. So yeah. Thanks. You, Michael.
Yeah. D&D is not D&D without a little homebrew, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, I think obviously this is just my opinion, but I think if your dungeon master doesn't allow homebrew, doesn't do homebrew, I think they could maybe open their mind a little bit, because there are many, not just items, but rules, homebrew rules that definitely elevate the game.
Well, it's really hard to do everything 100% by the book, even if you're trying to.
Exactly.
So sometimes you just homebrew something on the fly because you forgot the rules. So
yeah. No, definitely true.
But I agree 100%.
Yeah. Fantastic. No, this is exactly what I wanted. So Michael, thank you so much. Guys, this has been.
Well, now I need to make a Barbie doll and a coin thing and get you to help me out with it.
We will, and we'll do it. We'll be in contact. Right. Guys, thank you so much for coming to Legend Lore. This has been Feralborn Trading and WizThrift, and we are here to tell you about magic items. So, guys, thank you so much. Yeah. Have a great day.